Hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is our AIOps Navigator for SCOM session. My name is Christian Heidkamp, and I'm pleased to be here together with Brian Hubbard. Brian, please feel free to give a short introduction.
All right, thanks a lot, Crispin. So, Brian Hubbard, I have a lot of background on the systems and application monitoring. Been working on the AI platform for the last couple of years, and excited to present the stuff today.
Super. Yes, we put an exciting agenda for you together here today. So we'll have this split a bit into two parts. So we'll do the AIOps Navigator for SCOM first with a really extended live demo to show what capabilities there are when it comes to integration with SCOM. We walk over the architecture and also give a bit of an outlook what is possible there. So and then later on we'll go back more to the SCOM side of things, and I want to talk about how to integrate log file monitoring in the SCOM system that also then is taken over to the AIOps platform in the end. So like wrapping it all up with that. So perfect. So let's actually get started, and we'll put this up here to give you a little bit of an idea what we are showing today actually. So we all know today ChatGPT, Claude, all of the prompt interfaces, right? But how great would it be to have a prompt interface for your SCOM? Well, you all know the SCOM interface. We love it or don't like it at all. We have some great dashboards sometimes on top, but in the end, we don't have a really prompt interface yet to work with your data, and that's what actually we built here together and want to show you. Again, it's not a replacement; it's something that comes side by side. It is also only a read-only interface, so it will basically not alter anything on your SCOM interface, but really gives you kind of that interface on steroids to interact with your environment. So it's really like a query interface we're going to present, or Brian will present you here, like from what you know in Claude or other interfaces, and that basically really unlocks the whole area where you can get a lot of more visibility into your data, because in the OpsDB and the data warehouse you have per default 400 days of data in there, and we obviously don't make always all the usage of what we could do from that. And also we have the underlying service model that connects all the dots in our environment. So the visualization is being done of this data in the Navigator we are showing. And the last point I think nowadays is really critical, because there is this option to have this running on your LLM and in your network perimeter, basically air gap from anything outside, because especially as I've been working for the last 10 plus years with large enterprise companies, typically our SCOM environment are firewalled, locked away, and so there's no really a chance to bring data in and out. Obviously, we have other environments which are more open. We can make a lot of more usage, but in case it's really no way to use a URL lookup on some Copilot or something like that, we have to use a local LLM that interacts with that. So we'll also be talking about that shortly. So what have been the objective when we're starting all of that? So really, like, as I mentioned, have that interface to use AI capabilities, modern language model into the existing monitoring environment. And it is really like existing monitoring environment, which doesn't actually limit it to SCOM. Like SCOM we have added here because, well, this is the lot of knowledge me and my team brings to that, and that's why we have said, well, let's take that and integrate it, because other modern IT monitoring platforms eventually have already AIOps capabilities, but this is really like to enhance those platforms that don't have that and mine the data out of it, and also have the option to bring it to other platforms, right? And really like have a tool to compare and integrate different environments for that. And in the end, obviously, we have all required dashboard and visualization. So we also do a short demo of what is possible with that. With that, I think I will actually hand over to Brian for a second to talk a bit about the whole schema that is behind that and what components we are. So Brian, this is your slide, please.
So the idea of the platform is to be able to bring in data from multiple different platforms. So bring in data, obviously we're talking about SCOM today, but there's a lot of other platforms and tools within a standard enterprise environment that have also critical information. And the idea, the objective of the platform was the ability to be able to bring this information together into one platform and then make that information available to the AI to be able to answer questions in natural language there. So what we're focusing on the session today is really looking at the metrics, being able to pull that in from SCOM, health indicators, and also the alerts there. And what we do to help give more structure to the information there, to be able to give it more business relevance, we put it together in this schema on the left-hand side there. So we have resources, which are the monitor objects from the SCOM side. They're automatically brought into the system. So we get things like servers, we get the network interfaces, disks, also databases and the other objects there. And we can put them together into a deployment, which gives us an understanding of how they work together. And we can put multiple deployments together into a business service. So trying to give a business perspective to what we're looking at there. And then you have the consumers of the business service. So who are the entities? These may be internal, these may be external. We can model all sorts of different requirements there and be able to link all of this information together. So back to you there, Christian.
Yep, super, exactly. Thanks for explaining this. It's time actually to switch over to a live demo to see the whole thing in action. So, and I will actually start with a short demo on this. And well, I will pull up the SCOM console. Well, that's what I'm doing all day, right? So, and in the end, I just go to the Windows Server view and want to explain a bit, like for those who are not so familiar with the environment and where the data comes from and flows to. So in the end, we have this object model, and this object model is really key for SCOM. It's based on those who know the history of SCOM. It comes from the service manager, and it basically builds on a lot of objects which are linked together. So in Exchange server, any other systems that are in there, it will bring a lot of information into that part, and that's all connected. But however, if you have all that information and it flows into an active alert view, we'll see really like that information in a long list. And I see customers that have like 1,000, 2,000, a lot of active alerts in here. If you go to the closed alerts, because you have a health indicator, a monitor, which changes states frequently, it goes back and forth in different states and keeps closing and opening alerts. So it's very difficult actually to time travel, basically going back in time, seeing what actually happens last night, or actually which are the critical alerts which are open, which I need to look at, or what is just noise, which is like kind of self-monitoring, to really have a bit of a better way than just like the search up here to go through that. So in the end, so I just want to you to remember that we have basically these objects here, or resources with these computer object, and this is a little demo lab. So we have a domain controller, a couple of business apps. We have the SCOM server, which is actually the US-73. I write this one here, and this is basically a contained lab, and in this lab we're actually basically adding now this to the AIOps platform, and that's actually what when we actually switch over now to Brian. So, and he can share his screen, please.
So from my side, it's the ability. All right. So thanks. From my side, I'm mostly quite a good example. I'm not a SCOM expert, but I know a lot about the application and performance monitoring side of things. So what we can do with this platform is we can bring together the information from the SCOM, relevant details, and put it into the platform there. So you see here, we have a specialized SCOM dashboard. We can look at the latest alerts there. We can look at the alerts that we've got there. We can look at the details of the alerts as well to understand more about it. We can also go through and look at the other pieces of information that we have here, things like the health indicators. We bring those into the system there. And we also look at the metrics that we're bringing into the system. So here we see that we're bringing in automatically in a synchronized way the information from the system. So we can look at any one of these. We can look to see what metrics that we're collecting on a proactive basis and putting it in the internal database there. The idea is that we want to make sure that we do not overload the SCOM server with the multiple requests there. So you see here, most of them are quite red because this is a test system. We've only just started synchronizing the data there. Okay, so we've got that information.
Maybe one thing I have to add here, because the term metrics is not so much used in the SCOM world. So in the end, we have the performance data from performance collection rules. But as the AIOps platform is generic for basically a multiple monitoring platform, metric is the common term we use here for performance, and the health indicator basically for monitors. Just to add that.
This gives us the ability to be able to see this information there. But what we really want to be able to do is access this through an AI interface. So what we can do here is we have a standard model here. So we're using the Claude underneath for this. We have multiple different packages here. So we support different types of capabilities there. And we can go through here, for example, and say that we've got SCOM monitoring, and it will give it a set of tools that allow it to go back into the model and request this information. So what we can do is something really simple like show me the active alerts. Yeah. And it's using the transformation from natural language over to that tool set to try to be able to decide what is the most relevant tool to use for this stuff. So we can see here that we're getting back this information. It's not just a long list of alerts there. It's applying already some of that logical capabilities and knowledge capabilities to be able to go through and decide, okay, how do these things relate together? How can I present it to you in a usable form so that you can get more benefit out of it? So we can see here that we've got a number of alerts here that are active on the system. And it's trying to go through and categorize them together into common issues there. So we see we've got a couple of different issues there. We can see here that it's also looking for things related from our model as well. So it can take these alerts and relate them back to the deployments and the business services here. So you can see down here that it's relating some of these things already back to a service that's defined within the platform there. It's not something that's coming from the SCOM platform or SCOM product there itself. So this is where it can start to already add value on top of it, that it's relating these different alerts together and being able to say, okay, this is related to a particular business service. When we look at things like the deployments, the business services, and the entities there, this may be information that exists already within your enterprise in another form, and we can import that data into the platform. The whole idea is being able to tap into these different silos of knowledge that you have across the enterprise and be able to bring it into one consistent platform there. So we can see the alerts there. If we wanted to, we could go through and look at the details of them. It's not so exciting there. So what we can also do is ask it. It's already telling us that we've got some problems on the service MD1 here for the Exchange infrastructure. So we can go off and ask it, show me the details for the server. We'll use the US 73 in this case. So you can see here that it's getting back some of the information about the server here it's looking at the health status, so it can bring in the health indicators. And you see here something like the financials. This is, in this scenario, not so relevant, but it's the idea that you can create new health indicators on top to be able to look at a different aspect there, something that may come from a different system. So maybe looking at your financial systems there, to be able to integrate this together into one consolidated view. You see here the details about the system. You can see the active alerts there. We also have the ability to be able to go through and have a look at the open system, the system view here. So if we click onto that one, this is the ability to be able to pull in information for the system from the different tools there. So we see here that we've got the health indicators here. We can go through and have a look at the metrics for it. So we can go through and look at things like the CPU, the memory usage. Now, these metrics are coming from SCOM in this scenario, but they may come from a different system. So that's the idea, that we want to be able to have a standardized language to it, so that you could be pulling in from another monitoring tool, maybe using AWS or Azure or something like that, some of the cloud monitoring there, and you want to be able to pull in that data as well. So we can join this all together in the metrics server and then be able to present it here as one consolidated view. So we can have a look at the stuff there. We can look at something like the storage here as well to see what's going on. And we can go through and start looking at the metrics explorer here. So we have the ability to be able to go through and look at the metrics in different ways. So we can go through and look and say, we want to go by the object. In this case, it would be a server. So we can take the US 73 here, and it will show us what we've got for metrics available on that server based on what it's found from the samples there. So you see exactly how many samples, when was the last timestamp that it collected from it. So we can take something like CPU usage. And we then offer the ability to be able to look at different dimensions in there. We'll see how that's used later on. So we can see there that we've got system. We can go through and look at the duration for it. So we can look at the last 6 hours for it. You see that we've got a little bit of a spike and a change in the usage there. Now, the interesting thing is that we can now go through and look at related metrics to it. So we can look at something like the different metrics, and then it would take the system that we're looking at and add it together to it. Or we could go through and look at different objects and say, okay, we want to look at the CPU, but we want to look at another server there to understand how they relate together there. Or we could go through and add other metrics that are completely outside of the system there. So we might want to go through and look at something like the duration in the milliseconds here. We can then look at the different dimensions there to understand how it works together. So we can take different services, put them together there. So we can look at this case, the metric server, and look to see how the batch durations are doing over time. So we can select that one, and then we'll see a graph for that type of information there. We also have the ability to be able to go through the SCOM data warehouse. The idea is that we don't want to duplicate all of the metrics data from SCOM. We want to be able to take the information that you use most often and then just duplicate that information so that we can access it quickly and use it on the different areas there. All the other information we can then, as and when required, reach out to the data warehouse and pick up those metrics to be able to look at it, and it will go automatically. It goes through a unified metrics server there that will then go off and say, do I have this data myself? If not, I'll go back to the data warehouse and collect the data directly from there. It can do it across time spans as well. So you might have the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks of data in the internal time series database. The information outside of that one, it will combine it together with the data from the data warehouse if you're looking at a longer time span there. So it's quite efficient and reduces dramatically the load on the servers there, the SCOM servers, to avoid issues there. So the next level of this one is that you can go through and look at the information here. You can see also things like the distributions of the metrics there. So you can go through and see exactly how your load is distributed, or the metric values are distributed there, and show how that's working across these different items. We can also pull it together into a dashboard and make this information available to you. So we can go through the dashboards there. We've already seen the systems there when we looked at the US 72. We can also go through the deployments there and have a look at that one. So we can take something like the ITOps platform. So this is the internal metrics that we generate there. And you can see that it can pull together these different areas there. We see here, this is the ingestion for the SCOM data there. You see a timeline along the bottom here about what is the recent history for it. In the graphs itself here, you can see it goes through and calculates what is the expected values for each of these metrics, and then can go through and show where are you on that, those different averages there. So we use the average P90, P95, those types of things to be able to show where you are with that. We can also put this together into a custom dashboard. So we have the ability to be able to put multiple widgets there together. And then in this view, what we can do is go back through the history and look to see what the measurements are like over the past period of time. You can define exactly how long it should be. We can put this together and show display mode for it. And this will continuously go off and look at the measurements there and update them as they come through the system there. So we can also go through and link this together with other dashboards there. We can also go through and put it together with things like the deployment dashboards. So we can have just a link here that would then go through and show us this platform here with all of the details in there. And all of the metrics that we're getting here are being discovered automatically from the system there. So if you start introducing a new metric there, it will be automatically added into the dashboard here. So with that one, Christian, that gives a quick overview of some of the features that we've got in here. It's obviously a very extensive platform there, very extendable with external information there. So with that one, I'll hand it back to you.
Yes, super. Thank you, Brian, so for that overview. So really exciting stuff. So as you said, we'll continuously working on this and be integrating performance data here seen as metrics, the health state as health indicators, the service model mapping, and not only in SCOM, but beyond that, the resources like the systems you have seen. And we have that chat interface we just have shown, like, as a small example, obviously has a lot of more power. And for those who are interested, just drop me a line and we can schedule a more detailed demo. And the other options that I just put on here to show. In matter of time, I will just also just move forward and have a quick look at what we are working on right now. So big request from customers we are working with for incident management integration. So to get this actually integrated into incident management systems like ServiceNow and Remedy, for example. Audit capabilities are partially on there already. It has an RBAC functionality integrated, but that should be extended. And yeah, the third point on that, the anomaly detection, obviously that's something we long wished in SCOM, because we don't really have like thresholds we can dynamically adjust only in a little way, basically with matching previous values, but to really find out if there's something out of the normal, basically, and given a word on that. Forecasting and right sizing, external metric we have shown, and extended monitoring on open telemetry logs and networks. That's basically things we are currently working on there. So anything else, Brian, you want to add for this?
No, I think that gives us a very good idea of where we're going to with this stuff. I think the important point is that being able to bring information together from different silos. I think SCOM is obviously a very critical aspect of it. So we're very excited with the integration that we're building there. And I think as soon as we get that consolidation combination of data there, the ability to be able to use the AI on top of it, it opens up a huge number of opportunities for us. Summarization of alerts, the writing of incident reports, everything like that, everything that people understand are getting used to with AI, we can now provide real-time information from your monitoring tools to be able to put into those capabilities so that you can do your job a lot easier and be able to make this information available to people without them having to understand the intricate details of the underlying tools there. And I think that opens up a huge number of capabilities. I think it's quite an exciting connection between the tools and the AI capabilities there.
Okay, great. So with that, we come to the closing of this first part. So, and if you want to have more information, please go to TazamaTech.com, which is the place me and my team are working on this project. You can also visit us at nice.de, and there are 2 contacts you can reach out to us. With that, I thank you, Brian, a lot for helping and putting this up and presenting this, and working jointly on a number of customer projects on this. And if there's anybody else, feel free to reach out to us. All right, let's go to the second part of our session. In the second part of the session, I will really focus on the SCOM side, and we have the nice log file management pack here, and then we also basically can just take this data which integrates then into the AIOps Navigator. Let's quickly start and see what we have done. So there's a new release available of the log file management pack, just available now in April, and we put the link up into the chat, so you can pick it up right from there. We have released this over 10 years back in the initial version, and now we have the version 2.1 available, which has a couple of new features in there, but primarily also adds the platform support for the latest SCOM version. So we have really a lot of advanced log file analytics in there, over 100 authoring wizards, which I will show in a demo shortly, and a lot of features that are not part of the regular log file monitoring, which is included out of the box from SCOM. So I will actually right now go to the demo, but the first thing here, important, it's free, no license is required. So let's go to the demo environment. All right, so in this environment, I have imported the log file MP. So this is the version 2.1, which I have imported here. And the management pack is more like a template. So it doesn't monitor anything when you import it. So you have basically to configure this. And the configuration which we have decided to do is basically completely done in the authoring wizard. So you can go in the authoring wizard and go to a unit monitor. And here you have a new entry, which is called log files. And then you have a larger set of options so that you can monitor the log files, add these nice log file age, log file, the standard log file, with preprocessing. So you have an age with preprocessing and a log file regular with preprocessing. Preprocessing basically means if you want to write something to the log file before you process it, you can do that. And let's look at the log file. And here we have a couple of things again. So we have a default standard monitor. Obviously, there are performance rules as well. So, but I'll show actually the more complex case to have a reset based on the log file again. And we have a correlation, event-based, manual reset, or time reset, then repeated conditions. So if you have repeated log files you want to work with, missing consolidation conditions. So that basically means you're expecting an entry, but the entry isn't there. Last but not least is just a simple correlation without consolidating two different log lines together. So what I will actually show is a correlation with the filter before, and actually I give you the use case for it that you can better understand. So the use case is we have a business application, and that business application writes a log file, and this business application runs on a server which is called US71. So if you basically go over here, and I will quickly show you what is monitored. So I have various Windows servers. So we have one Windows server is US73, which is our management server, and we have US71, which is our basically application running on there we would like to monitor. On that system, we have a log file located. So we are going to US71 here. In the app directory, we have the application log file. And the application log file basically contains a lot of things in here, but it actually just starts it and then it actually completes it. So it has a starting cycle and a completion cycle, and we want to make sure it's not just like here starting, but it's also completing. And obviously there's a time in there, so we don't parse a timestamp here because we don't have one, but we can see actually when the file is updated because we expect it after the first match to be in there. So we process this file, and for that to happen, there's a script running which basically updates this file at this point. So to actually monitor these two log files and correlate them, because we want to have an alert if these two lines cannot be correlated in a certain time interval. So let's do that now. So we go to correlation and a time reset, filter before. We'll just pick this management pack where we can place it in. So, and now we actually just start by giving this a name, business application startup monitoring. Monitor. You can put some. So target typically is here the Windows server, or we could like have a discovery and so on, but we'll just pick the Windows server. I am not going to enable it out of the box for all, but we'll later do an override on that. So next we have an interval. So I'll just gonna let this run every minute. We don't need a timeout, otherwise that timeout is at the same time. We can do synchronization and other things as well. Let's go next. We need a path to this, and the path is in app, as we have seen. You could include subdirectories. You could also use wildcards in the path as you wish. And then we have a file. And the file name is, we can just pick it up from our directory. This is the file name here. Also, the file name again can contain wildcards. You can have a start padding in there. You have a read mode to read from the end, from the beginning. If it's a default, we have a pointer file. We read the first time, we throw it away, and after that, we start reading again. All right, so we have like a filter pattern. So there's always a bit of a help included here. So we basically want to, what log entries we want to filter for. And if I look at this file again, so we have basically the starting part and the end part. So we want to look for those two lines. We use a regular expression for that. So this is basically the regular expression which have a start text, which is this one. And in the second part, we have an end text where we have this completed. We split this apart with this here and parse out the start and the end text. I have prepared this, but you can also use here a replacement pattern. You can also manage that. Also in here, you can manage split pattern to keep your own history of patterns. There is a documentation separately from this. If you're not so familiar with regex, you can use that. There's a little test in here, so which you can use. So we can just take this out here and actually either load a file in or like just do it in here. If we go over here, we actually have two entries, two data items now for the start and the end text. And we actually see that it's here it's parsed out the end text, which then we can use in the next step to build our expression out. So here we just add regular, like the regular expression. So we filter for the start text. So the start text, which we parsed out in the first step, should basically contain, so parse should be starting. And that expression for the second expression we are looking for in this should be then when the text ends, and it contains, you have, I think, completed in here we are looking for. No, we're looking for, yeah, we're looking for completed. Just being sure we just copy it from here. Completed. Okay, so all right, now we should configure the correlation. So for example, we should expect this like in a 30-second interval. So there's a little bit of a help down here. So you can configure different correlation details. Either like have a correlation takes place if they happen in the same interval here. If they happen outside of that interval, no correlation takes place. So you use this one. I don't want to have an auto reset. You can have an auto reset after a certain time, but I say I want to auto reset this after only like, well, let's say, for example, it starts once a day, the application, and I want to reset it. So the next time it actually does take it. So then we do the health configuration, reset raised, and it's healthy, event raised, and it's critical. And last but not least, we configure that a alert is generated, so we can leave the default here. Just make this a bit more specific here. So, and create it. All right, now the alert is created and it actually starts running. We would see this here. I created a similar one already before, so this is the one we just created. I have created one before just in case that it starts already running, because we might need to wait for the initialization here. So from the previous run, we actually see that it has already triggered here. So this is basically the alert which is triggered if the delay happens and we don't write that quickly into the set. So we actually see the alert here. So we can reset this and it will pop up in a moment again. Well, obviously we need to reset the monitor and go in here and reset the monitor. One thing which is also maybe interesting to know in case you want to later go back and edit something, you can actually go here into the properties and we get a lot of custom tabs here where you can go back in and change the expression, change the regular expression filter. You can also here then basically check if your entries are matched. So I'm just going to pick it one more time up to show how it is working. We can just then pick up something from the log file, paste it in here. You could load also a file in here, and then we see here the instances that are matched for troubleshooting and verification. So that was just to show you a quick overview of one of the monitors. Again, they're like about over 100 wizards. So on the rule side, the same thing. We have a couple of things I put as an example in here, but also here we have the file age as an alert. We have the with the pre-processing again, the log file and the log file with the pre-processing, and then again like different options in here. There's again a user guide, there's a tutorial and a couple of white papers you can go over. So that was the demo. Quick run through that. So let me quickly go back and just summarize the key functionalities here. So we talked about repeated log entries. So if we have duplicated log entries, multi-line log entries, very important if you have a couple of logs that span across a longer time. So you can have a start regex pattern and the end regex pattern to go over it. We have the expression filtering we did right now with the replace and a couple of options to filter things out and put them into variables to process them, file age monitoring, and the advanced analytics are basically that we can take those logs from any source on the system. So, and one important thing is wildcards also in the path, which is not supported in the standard. And the missing log entry detection sometimes is also helpful. We have a self-monitoring built in. So if there's a problem with, for example, that you have misconfigured your regex, then obviously you'll get already in the UI get a warning that there's a problem with the regex you did. There's also regex tester in one place in there you can use. One thing on maintenance mode, for example, if you put maintenance zone mode on your Windows system and stuff goes into your log and you take it out of maintenance mode, you might get an alert storm, but we have prevented this by actually then moving the pointer after the maintenance mode to the latest position and process it from there. And there's workflow scheduling. So I haven't shown it this in case, but there's an option to also exclude certain days from log file monitoring. With that, we come to the end of the session. So just a last quick overview of the management packs we provide from NICE. We have added NetApp here recently. Well, it's already 1.5 years back, but it's still very popular, and a couple of others here. So if you have interest in any of those management packs, feel free to reach out to us. With that, I will wrap here the sessions, and thank you all for spending time with us, and I wish you best further on SCOMathon for the next couple of hours. Thank you. Take care.